What's up, traders? Taking 4 trades today, only winning 2 of them, but we still ended up with a decent green day. Let's get to it. All right, traders, so just a little house cleaning real quick. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I always appreciate that support. Don't forget to hit the little post notification bell. So every time I upload a video, you'll be the first one to see it. You can go hit that like button right away every time you see the new video. It helps grow the channel. It helps, keep the motivation to keep making these videos every single day. And also the Discord, again, I revamped that thing. It's nice. It's pretty awesome to be in. We've got a nice group of people in the hangout every single morning. Me, Devin, Thomas, Jag, we got a few people on the mic. That's who's on the mic. Actually, we got a bunch more people in there listening, and we got a bunch of people texting as well, showing our charts, posting our trade ideas, just talking about trading in general, trying to grow as a community, which is exactly what this is all about, becoming profitable, becoming part of that 10%. So with that said, most of my trades today were not really fast trades, so I'm not really going to go through editing all of them because it was quite a bit. So we're just going to go ahead and get started here. VFF, this one was pretty standard. It made a nice move. The volume wasn't necessarily great. Got a nice little volume pop there. It was grinding a little bit, but I still like the move, especially because it tried to go through the whole dollar here and got rejected. It tried a second time on this candle, and we actually got to add in, looking for it to come down. And our take profit was, we were looking for somewhere down in this area, which it eventually did get right to it. That's kind of funny, that 50% area. But we put our stop right in at high of day because we realized if it didn't want to continue its push down on this candle to give us that test, then the move clearly wasn't done. And it came up, stopped us out. It did try to go higher, but ultimately ended up being a little bit of a fake out, coming down and eventually testing that area. So that was a little bit of a frustrating one. As you can see, it did end up going higher, but again, that's hindsight, and just ended up being a frustrating one because if we don't add here, maybe we let it do the little fake out, and it still probably would have been a smaller trade. Might have got to add over here on the backside. Not exactly sure how we would have played it, but I got a little aggressive there, and because I did, once I get that add, I'm always risking high of day at that point per strategy, and yeah, we got stopped. So then we moved down to DKNJ, the first trade, or J. I keep saying J for some reason. DKNG, which is DraftKings. As you can see, this line drawn was previous resistance from pre-market, and it made a nice little move. Tried to drop at the bell, kind of made some higher lows, and it decided to squeeze right through that line. Came up, felt the jiggle a little bit, and so the reason this chart looks a little funny is because we actually, after this move down to 44.50, is when we ended up getting short. It went off of this candle, it went up to the highs on this candle, 44.90, and then came all the way down to 44.50 pretty quickly, and then came back up. And it felt like it was jiggling here, felt like it didn't want to go back to high of day. So we were like, you know what, let's get short and look for it to come back down to that 44.50. And we were actually looking to try to get closer to 44.35, right? Because we were looking for it to retest that previous resistance. So once we did that, we knew that we were getting in after it had already made that initial move that we look for. So we were taking a trade that we necessarily wouldn't normally take, but we still felt like this thing had room to the downside. So we took the trade, but we knew that if we were wrong, we wanted to be done, right? This was a right or right out type trade. And as you can see, we were wrong. It decided pretty much right after we hit the button, it decided to go pretty much right back up and went through high of day. However, I was still convinced that this just wanted to come down, right? I mean, this wasn't really a legit pullback. This was just like a, take profit, like real quick, got bought back up. Like this thing was still extended. It was getting volume, and I was pretty excited to try to get back into this trade. But I was really expecting this to run up through 45. If we take a look at the daily, there was a line that we actually had drawn. You can't see it on the chart, which was the top of this candle at 45.50. So if we scroll out and then we scroll this out, you'll see it was right there. I was expecting when this went through to get a run up to that area, but unfortunately we didn't get it. And once I realized it went through 45, we did get through 45. It made the high there at 45.06, which is still high of day. It's attempting to get there again, but I realized it came right back down through 45, tried to go through again, got shot back down, tried to go through again, and got shot back down. And on the third time, when it tried one more time, I said, if I see this thing coming back down towards 44.90, we're going to take a shot at it. And so that's what I did. We ended up getting filled at 44.91 because it was hanging out right there at 45. The bid was at like 44.98, basically where it is right now. And I said, if this thing shoots back down towards 44.90, that's a pretty good sign. It tried 3 times, couldn't get back through 45. We're going to give it a shot. And again, this was kind of a right or right out trade. I said, I'm going to take this trade, and if it wants to go high of day, we'll just stop out, because I was still convinced that it was going to go up and try this 45.50 area. But as you can see, it consolidated. It did try to get through that area, consolidated. And right here, I said, okay, look, it was trying 45 again. It actually got through. It went 45.01, came back down 45, and it was struggling again. And I said, okay, same scenario. We're this close to 45. I'm going to get an ad, and we're still just going to risk high of day. Right? We're getting an ad. It was at 44.90. It was the same principle. I said, okay, it's hanging out at 45. It's trying, it's failing, it's trying, it's failing. I'm going to get an ad if it looks like it wants to push down. And once I saw the signs of it pushing down, it went down towards 90. We got our ad. So basically, we got double the position that we had from the beginning at the same average, right? It was like it was 44.91 and 44.90 were our 2 fills. And basically, if we're wrong, we're not risking that much, right? We're only risking that 16 cents, but we were looking for the big move back down. And eventually, after all of the struggle, it kept trying to get through 80. 44.80 was holding support. 44.80 was holding support. And then it finally went through 44.69. We had our order down here at 44.58. We were kind of using the bottom of this candle, saw it bounced off the $0.50. We're just trying to front run the $0.50 a little bit just to make sure we got a fill in case it wanted to bounce there. And then on this candle here, it went through, but then got bought all the way back up, almost all the way back up towards 45 again. And I was like, oh, that's it. And then this candle here, it never got back down to 80. And I was like, man, we're going high of day. And then to my surprise, out of nowhere, this thing just absolutely dumped, and it dumped right to our order, 44.54. Our order was sitting there at 44.58, and we got filled for the full shares. And we actually made a full queue on this one trade. So a queue is $30 right now. On any given trade, we're looking to make 10 on a single entry. Once I get that second entry, I'm looking for at least like 20. But I didn't hit my button here because I was going off of the key levels, and I knew that we have a really good chance of getting out of that $0.50. And I did hit my 20 button in there, and it was a little bit higher. But I just had a good feeling that if we got the breakdown, we were going to at least come down and test that $0.50 and probably at least try to bounce there. And as you can see, it did. It did try to bounce there before ultimately going down. And I say this all the time. Once you get to that key level, the odds now are very 50-50 on what it does after that. If it wants to bounce here like it did and go back to high of day, it can. If it wants to bounce and reject and go lower, it can. But to me, that's very 50-50. The high probability trade here is this wash, right? That's what we're looking for. That's the higher probability trade. So once we get to that point, that's all we wanted. We could have scaled out, sure, but again, I was just happy to get to where we were. So if you take the VFF loss and the first EKNG loss, we ended up pretty much break even, actually a little green with this trade after those 2 trades. So that was pretty awesome. And then we had one last trade on DNK. This one was pretty standard. It made a move. It was a little newsy type, but when I pulled it up, it was just really struggling to continue, even with the increased volume coming in. It was on SSR2, which was a little worrisome. But I actually was pretty frustrated because we got this at first entry. I was going to say ad, but we got this first entry. It did try to come down, and then it extended. And on this move here, I was thinking it might try to pop through 250, but it didn't. And as it was coming down, I tried to get in for an ad, but SSR kind of got me. I tried to hit it at 237, and I just didn't get any fill, which would have been right there. So our average would have been somewhere in here, and there's no chance that I wouldn't have been probably taking off at least some on this move, right? Because anytime you get an ad, usually if you get down to where your original entry was, the odds are that's going to be a good take profit area because, I mean, you got to add, brings your average up, and you're below where your first entry was. That's usually a good spot. But we didn't get the ad, so we kind of got stuck. I was really just looking to get out break even on this thing. And because I didn't get the ad, I gave it a chance to test 250 to see what it did. I wanted to see, even if I was actually expecting this to go through 250, and I was going to look to get an ad on that side of it. but I really wanted to see if this was going to fake out at that 250 area, whether it was at 250 or a little bit over. So it went right up to 250. It failed. We got our ad at 244. We just hit the ask right when we realized it was failing the first time. We were just taking the chance, and I immediately put my stop in over 250. I said, I missed it down here. We're getting an ad as close as possible to the highs at this point, as close as possible to that 250 mental level. And if it wants to go through, I don't want to mess with it anymore because this thing could potentially just go. And fortunate for us, we got the ad on the ask, and it decided to work out in our favor. We put the take profit down at it was at 215 originally. And it was actually kind of funny because in the Discord, Thomas and Jag were rooting for me, or Lance. I just call him Jag because that's his username. But it got to 215, and they were like, sweet, yeah, you got filled. And I'm like, no, I moved it. Because I felt like if we got down to that area, we might get a bust down through. And so I'd moved it down to 211, just thinking it was going to at least try, because this candle over here is what I was looking at. It got to 210. I was like, I'm going to front run that candle by a penny just to see if it wants to bounce there again. And it's literally sat at 215 for like a good, probably about 30 seconds. And I was like, oh man, this is going to bounce here and it's going to make me look like an idiot. But I wasn't going to let it go back through 220. At that point, I made up my mind. I was like, maybe I'll lose out on 5 cents here, but I wasn't going to let it go back through 220. And sure enough, it did drop down, gave me that last little push, and gave us our fill at 211 while we were on the bid. So that was nice. It actually ended up going, I think, a little bit lower. Yeah, it got to 206. So it ended up going from what looked like if DKNG went to high of day, as well as DNK, if that thing went to high of day right after we got in, we would have been down about 1.33Q or whatnot. So for both of them to basically turn around, and keep in mind, these were at almost the exact same time. If we take a look, this candle was at 1036, DKNG, it was at 1036. It was, I mean, they pretty much happened at the exact same time. So for my day to pretty much turn around all in an instant like that, it was pretty nice. And we went from thinking we were going to end up with a decent red day to a pretty decent green day, right? We didn't get to Q quite. We got about 3/4 of the way there. So I'm going to take that, and we're going to move on to tomorrow. We're just going to keep stacking these green days up and move forward. So with that said, don't forget to like and subscribe. Always appreciate that support. Don't forget about the Discord. If you do have any questions or comments, leave those down below as well. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.